This waistline of the skirt should then match the waistline of your bodice. Get that back to you. So there's my hip line. You can manipulate a dart out of a garment. In essence, you can pretend like we have seen where it is non-existent. But that's that one. When you're copying off patterns, make sure that you hold your pencil up or pen. Don't hold it this way, this way. It goes under the pattern. Sharpen the pencil if it starts to become dull. There's a thickness to the lead. Mechanical pencil keeps the thickness constant, so you don't have to worry if you're using that. I've mentioned this to somebody, I don't remember who, but I have a, maybe it was you. I have a Japanese mechanical pencil that the lead spins as you write with it. So it's always sharp, because it constantly is sharpening itself.
Yeah, you did tell me that.
I think it's Pilot. I found it on Amazon. I heard about it and then I found it on Amazon. Maybe it came from Japan. Maybe you can get it at Mitsuwa or somewhere.
Sorry.
So I'm just gonna do it to the hip. We're gonna just say that we have a little circle skirt on our hip. I'm just rough cutting this out.
Well, I thought the pattern for a circle skirt was just a circle. Is that, sorry.
It is a circle.
Wait, no, I meant like, I thought you cut out like an actual circle.
You do. But that would be one method of doing it.
Oh, there's different, oh,
There's
okay.
different methods. There's many ways to skin a cat.
I see. No, I.
So what you want to do is draw lines straight down. I'm going to transfer this dart into the hem, and that's what's going to create the flare. This is the same method to create a yoke or a facing on a skirt, only it's not this long. Just don't cut through your little hinge, and if it does. So what we're gonna do is close these darts up. Didn't cut far enough. And then we just wanna stabilize. Oops, I cut it off. Now what? I have to start all over. No, you don't. So I'm gonna close that dart up. It fell off. I'm going to replace it by putting it there. So the dart now has successfully been put into the hemline. You could do this all the way down and make a flared skirt out of it. This will get stabilized. If you want more flare, you can add it at the side seam. This essentially, take your ruler and you're gonna leap this gap. If you want more flare in here, you can add it to the side seam. So because I have cut it already, I'm just gonna add that amount. And you can just say, oh, that's the amount I want. So whatever the length of your side seam was originally, this new line needs to be the same. So this is 8 1/8. We're gonna make that 8 1/8, which is up here. If you don't do that, what's gonna happen is you're going to have it's not gonna be round. You're going to have some shape with little points. because they're not 90 degrees. You need to make your side seams 90 degrees when you're adding flare. So even though it's higher than your original side seam, you're then gonna take your French curve and bring it back to the actual hem. Keep that in mind for all sort of circle skirts, gowns. So this isn't a huge circle skirt that gets attached to the waist. Let me see if we can find peplum. It goes in and out, but if you wanted to have a little bit of a flare, little skirt on the bottom, this is a way to do it simply. Images. But you see, we have a bodice. That could be your best. You want little peplum? It's basically exactly that. However, this one has been pleated. So this one has been changed more where it's been divided, extra fabric has been put in, it's been folded up, and it creates this little circle skirt. But that's a peplum on a garment. All sorts. You can have a lot of so you can add a lot of flare, but this is, again, a circle skirt attached to a strapless bodice in this case. It's princess line, no less. So the peplum has been added to the top, and you can see that there's even a pleat there. So you can exaggerate it, or you can just keep it very demure.
Isn't that what they use for corsets? I forgot what it's called.
Boning?
Yeah, boning.
Well, boning would be inside of the garment.
Yeah, but like
We don't see the boning.
no, I know, but like I'm saying
Like boning in the skirt?
yeah.
There could be some horsehair braid in the skirt that keeps it up like that. It could be, it looks like it's a heavyweight fabric
Mm-hmm.
compared to. Here's another, again, it's the same old same, just different, look. Peplum, peplum, peplum. So it's a circle skirt. Lots of flare.
Wait, that one's like a half peplum, like this shirt.
Yeah? But you can do it easily done the same way. So I've made that a straight line instead of a curve. It's going to add more fullness. You've added more fabric to it. Automatically put your grain line on so that you don't, forget. This is the center front. Don't write center front there because it's a location indicator. So that's not the center front, that's the center front. This would get traced off. So if you made this a princess line, you could slice up these darts and then attach it to the front princess panel and then the side princess panel to get that dress that we saw before. This one, which is princess line. So it's all one. So if you wanted, I don't think anybody designed this because I don't think that, while it's something, to know how to do, I don't know, do you guys have any outfits at home that have peplums on them? It's not really, you can see it's sort of the same thing. What? Nor I? Is that
I
what you
said
said?
no, I'm a guy, so definitely no.
It doesn't mean you don't have a peplum.
Wait,
I have a
yeah.
Chanel suit, doesn't mean I wear it.
Wait,
I said I have a Chanel suit at home, it doesn't mean I wear it.
it has peplum?
No, I'm just saying, I have a Chanel suit, but I don't wear it.
You brag about that.
I'm just saying, I have examples of clothes at home. Who's to say that you don't?
What would be like a peplum in men's fashion?
It wouldn't be. There isn't
That's
one.
what I'm saying.
That's why I said I have a Chanel suit. I don't wear it.
I'm thinking
It's a women's suit.
Oh, it is?
Chanel jacket, yeah.
Oh. Oh, wait.
I mean, is it like high heels were originally for men?
Yes.
And then became.
Makeup was originally for men too.
So yeah, like what
Just
the
think of,
aristocrats?
just think of like animals in nature. The male species is always the colorful one. Think of a cardinal. The male is red and the female is not. I had one in my tree yesterday, so I thought about that. But it was the same. Yes, heels were originally for men. So again, all I did was drew a line down where I want essentially the dart to go, which is in the hemline, but we're gonna pretend it doesn't exist. We're just gonna, I taped it back without doing anything to it. How easy was that? If it doesn't lay flat, then you haven't cut far enough. So we're not adding, in this case, a lot of flare. You don't wanna, I mean, this is gonna match your bodice when the dart is closed. The same one on the other side. If you wanna add, because I added flare to that one, I've cut it out already. You will add the same amount of flare here, so that it keeps it balanced. You don't wanna put it on one and not the other, because what happens is that the larger edge pushes the other edge backwards, and you want that side seam to be sitting at your side seam, regardless of its size. Again, take your French curve, and you're just going to make that leap with it. I'm just doing it free-handed. And then you can cut that out. And again, if you add flare to this, remember that whatever the original length of your side seam is, and this pertains to a skirt that goes from here to the window. It doesn't matter how long it is, whatever the original length is, when you add the flare to it, let's say add that amount of flare to it. Whatever this length is, this side has to be the same. So just because you add flare to it doesn't mean that you can just pretend that your side seam doesn't exist. Whatever its original length is, that's the new length of the new seam. This should always be 90 degrees. For some portion, a 1/4 of an inch, and then you can use your curve to curve this up. That doesn't, it looks bizarre because it really isn't that.
Wait, can I see what you're talking about? The curve.
You just want to take the French curve. Do you have a
Yeah.
skirt curve, French curve, sort of curve, any curve? All right. Really actually has to be down there. This isn't gonna work, but when you put the two side seams together, they should be the same length. Wait, it's up here. But you see, that's a weird shape. So put your side seams together if you were to do something and make this a nice little straight line. You don't want like a point there. If you're gonna make something that looks like that at your side seam, exaggerate that. I have an issue saying that word. I worked with somebody who couldn't say the word, and so that's all I think about, is how she used to say it.
How did you use it?
Exaggerate. And that's what I think of. Exaggerate it. So exaggerate. So if you're gonna have like a point, like a handkerchief hem on a garment, then exaggerate the entire thing. Don't make a little point here. That doesn't read on the body. That reads on the body. But just remember that whatever the length is of the side seam originally, that's what your new length is when you add the flare. And so then this would be traced off, and you would have your pattern for the front. Let me finish cutting this. Remember your grain line, label it. What does it belong to? There's your back. Parallel to center back. In this case, you can trim all of that off. Trim that off because it's not part of the pattern. And that's how you can make a peplum out of the top of your skirt. So you're utilizing, so it's just slight flare. It's not a whole heap of anything, but it is half of the circle. So a circle skirt can be a full circle, it can be a quarter of a circle. So what that all means, and there's in the textbook around page 2, well, I think it's on 288. In circle skirts, there's a whole measurement thing to make a skirt. And what essentially happens is that you have to measure the seam that it's going on, or your waistline, and you subtract an inch or you add a ½ inch to it, depending if it's gonna be on bias somewhere. And there's a mathematics to it, and there's a chart in the book for the math to figure out what size circle you need. But depending on how much fullness you can have a little fullness, you can have a greater amount of fullness, and when you create the circles themselves, what essentially happens, let me put that back, let me remove that, is that you can create a circle skirt that's an entire circle, and there's your waistline. You can make a circle skirt that's just half a circle, so this opening here that I've just drawn is equal to the total waistline. And that gives you a different look. You can do 3/4 of a circle. Yeah. And the inside circumference is exactly the same as your waistline. So there's different types of circle skirts, so they're not always a circle.
Is that the sort of thing you have to cut it on the bias so it like dribbles, right? Oh.
Well, yes, but you can't make a skirt like this because how do you get into it? You can't, so there has to be usually a seam somewhere, usually there and there, side seam. But this can be on grain. This can be your grain. And what happens when you put the grain at the center front is that the skirt lays flat at the center front. If you make this your grain instead, what happens is that on your side seams, it's flat, straight down, but at the center front and center back, it flares out. So the grain can be anywhere. It could be right